Good evening, everyone, live on TikTok and on YouTube. For those of you guys that prefer YouTube as your um, social media platform, um, let's see. I'm waiting to see if anyone logs on TikTok. Hope you guys have been having a fantastic Monday so far. Mondayed like Mondays do. so, um, but yeah, I hope that you guys have had a fantastic start to your week. Um, we are winding down, believe it or not. We are on week 6 of what, 10 weeks, right? So we have about a month left together. We still have some topics to cover. This week, we're going to be covering immigration, which I know is a hot button topic right now, considering the political climate. We're going to take a nuanced approach to it when we talk about the impact that Black Americans have had on immigration reform, and how the civil rights movement played a very significant role on or in increasing the rights of those who are not yet legal citizens of the United States, and how it has essentially humanized or helped to humanize um, immigrants to this country. But we're also going to talk about the disproportionate impact that immigration laws and reform and deportations have had on Black immigrants specifically. I know that a lot of times the conversation is solely kind of based on Latinx, the Latinx community. And while they obviously have legislation and policies that are at a detriment to those communities, we often kind of forget about communities of color and Black communities that immigrate here to the United States, those from the Caribbean and those of African descent. So we're going to talk about that this week. Last week we talked a lot. We talked a lot about voting rights. Last week we talked about criminal justice and criminal justice reform, and the issues that our community faces from a civil rights perspective. We talked about capital punishment and how capital punishment is disproportionately given to Black defendants, especially if it was a Black defendant that was accused of killing a white victim. We talked about that last week. We talked about the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments when it comes down to your rights if you are ever arrested. Hi, Trevino. Nice to see you again. We talked about that. We talked about your rights if you're ever arrested, if police try to search you, and if they find anything. So we covered a lot, and we covered very hot button topics, and we're going to continue to kind of press that. I know in the beginning of the course, we were talking a lot about history, a historical perspective. And I think it's very important because what politics or politicians seem to do very well is find words to describe old issues, right? So even when we talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion was the executive branch's enforcement of Brown v. Board of Education, the overturning of Plessy versus Ferguson, right? When separate but equal stopped being the law of the land. Diversity, equity, and inclusion was a way for the government to correct all of those years of considering Black people 3/5 a person, right? And now you see it being weaponized, and you hear about like woke was the most horrible thing to be back in 2020, and now that's become DEI. And then what are usually issues of race and racial bias have now become socioeconomic status, right? So we're not doing it based on color, we're doing it based on how much money you make, if you fall below the poverty line, things of that nature. But when you dig deeper, right, and you look at it from a historical perspective, what you find is that historically, the communities that are impacted the most are our communities. So they just find very creative ways to relabel the same issues that we've been fighting against and the same policies that we've been fighting for generations. Okay. So that's kind of what we're seeing at play. And that's why I think when you're talking about issues like this, it's very important to have a historical perspective, because what you don't learn from history, you're bound to repeat. So now we've kind of moved past the historical perspective and we're coming into the things that are very present day, right? One of the cases that we're going to be talking about tomorrow is extremely recent. It was a 2012 case, and then it looks like it's going to be overturned in the near future. It was partially overturned by a 2024 Supreme Court decision. So now we're kind of getting into the more relevant topics, and probably the topics that you guys want to hear about and want to know more about, especially as we're looking at, what can we do as a society with everything that's happening in government. Every day it's something new, right? We really need to figure out where we go from here. Okay, so I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask me any questions or talk about anything that we've either already covered in previous weeks or last week, or anything that you see that we're going to cover on the syllabus for this week. Okay. Yeah, we're coming down to the wire. I do have a very special thing that I'm working on for all of the students that are in the class and still sticking in it with me. I will let you guys know ahead of time that there will be an exam. Okay, so there is going to be a test at the end of our time together, and I will send that out to everyone who was on the original enrollment list, the sign up list, because I still have you guys' information. But we will have an exam. Obviously, it's open book. So you have access to all of the videos. You have access to my TikTok page. You have access to my YouTube page. So it's going to be open book. But there will be something very, very special for the person who scores the highest on the final exam. And then in the case of a tie, we'll have a little tiebreaker. But it's something that I'm working on. I'm going to announce it shortly once I'm able to lock in that partnership. But I wanted to make sure that I left you guys with something that was impactful, something that Trevino Mimi. Well, we'll see how you do on the final exam. But I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys something of value outside of just the content, that you have something to take away from this experience, especially for those of you that have been rocking with me since the very first class at the beginning of February. I appreciate every single one of you guys that joins me, that watches the content, that engages every single week, that shares the content. With that being said, want to bring it to you guys' attention if you don't already know. Over the weekend, my TikTok page got cloned. Okay. Apparently, I don't know, my friends that sent it to me and put me on, because I didn't even know until I checked my phone on Saturday night, and I had like 4 or 5 text messages from friends of mine that follow me that were like, "Hey, is this you? Did you create a new page?" And then when I checked my DMs on TikTok, I had several DMs from followers who are asking the same question, and everyone has given me the same response: "Oh, you big time now," because that's like the telltale sign that you've reached, I guess, a certain status now that your page has gotten cloned. I personally don't feel that way. I'm like, who am I that y'all would want to clone my page? But there is a fake page out there. You will notice that it is DENI underscore Lyn redefined, right? And then the handle is DANNI. That is not my page. If you have received a follow request from that page, please do not follow that page. Go ahead and report the page and block it. I don't think that the reporting efforts have worked. I've reported it myself to TikTok to say like, hey, this is not me, and they're impersonating me. And TikTok's response was they checked the page and there's no violation. So I'm currently working to try to talk to someone, like a physical person at TikTok, and not go through like their, whatever AI system or whatever they're using. because clearly they're not checking the way that they need to. But yes, if you've received a follow request, especially if you've received a message from that page, go ahead and report them and block them. Please, it's not me. It's not me. You are already following my page. And I will continue to make posts about it. I'm probably going to do a dedicated post in my actual feed, but then I will also make sure that I put a post. I posted twice about it on my stories, but um, I will go ahead and do that as well. And please know, I would never ask y'all for money. Is it okay to come to your YouTube page because they always block my answers? Yes, I see your comments. If you put them on the TikTok video, I feel like I've seen all of them, but just to be sure, absolutely. Because I check the comments on YouTube as well. I respond on YouTube and I respond on TikTok, so that is totally fine. But yeah, for those of you that follow me on TikTok, if you have gotten a request or any type of message from that page, know that is not me. I would never ask you for money. I would never ask you to do anything. Um, and oh no, I hope I hope that's not doing it for everybody. Okay, everyone that's on the live on TikTok, can you guys let me know if you're able to see me clearly and hear me clearly? Because it looks like we may have an issue. Thank you for coming over to the YouTube. I appreciate you though. But I want to make sure that those that are accessing me on TikTok are also able to see me properly. You know, TikTok likes to act a little crazy. So if you guys are able to see me and hear me clearly and it's not like buffering and stuff like that, let me know because that issue might be on my end. Oh my God, I thought that I got a DM. Oh my God, yes, that is not me. You got a DM asking you how your family is. That is not me. Please, y'all. I feel so horrible because reputation is very important to me. My reputation is extremely important to me. Obviously, y'all, the thought that anybody would go and like steal my videos, right? Like they stole not half, because I've been creating content since 2022, but probably videos from like January on, they stole and replicated and put on this fake page. And I'm truly, truly shook, right? I'm shook. So please, if you got anything from that page, just go ahead and block them because this is crazy. And like I said, I'm going to try to get an actual person from TikTok to talk to me so that they can go ahead and get that page down, because I don't understand how you guys can say there was no violations. It's clear that they cloned me. They're pretending to be me. Okay. But either way, does anyone, there are two of these in the profile. Yes, exactly. So there are some signs. There are like the 2 dashes, the 2 N's. I don't spell my name that way. I think, you know, you have like the actual handle with the @ and then you have like whatever name you want. It's like DENI. And then you will notice too on the videos, the captions don't correlate with the video that's playing. So yeah. Right now they have like a little over 1,200 followers. And why is it blocking comments? Okay. I tried to say it had to be you who were, and I reported it and they told me that they found no violations. It's their history. Once you reach a certain level, they want to take it from you. You know, TikTok, although it's a platform that's easier to grow on than a lot of the other social media platforms, and it does allow for a free flow of information, it is one of the most notorious platforms when it comes to censorship, especially specifically censorship of Black creators. And I think now that I have kind of veered into an avenue that I'm passionate about, and it does have a political factor to it, I'm starting to see that a lot now. My last couple of videos have only made it past maybe like 600 or 700 views. And of course, with the explosion of the Hillman Talk trend or movement, my first video that introduced the class, I think, has over 700,000 views and is still getting views to this day. But the actual content itself has been suppressed. Um, that's why I'm really glad whoever suggested in the beginning that I create a YouTube page, I'm so glad that they did and that I actually followed through, because it's really unfortunate and disheartening to see. I'm not going to stop, right? And then you guys will also start to see some other content that probably will give you a deeper understanding of me as a person, where I'm at in life right now, or whatever. So I hope that you guys stick around for that, along with other nuanced takes on issues that we're dealing with currently in today's society. So that stuff won't stop. I am an attorney, I'm a lawyer. These are things that I'm passionate about. This is why I got into the legal field in the first place, was so that I could actually help people. So you'll still see a lot of that content. And I feel like that's the content that I've seen the most suppression on. But I'm not going to stop making it. But I have noticed, yeah, like censorship of comments, and they're not pushing the videos through the algorithm like how they usually would, despite all of the hashtags that I use. Meanwhile, on YouTube, the videos are doing pretty well, right? So I could definitely tell the difference, but that's okay. Once the revolution starts, it don't stop. So let's see, let me check the comments in here. Try to say, yeah. Wonder if the ban is on some of the words. It could be. We all know that 12-hour stunt that they did back in January prior to the inauguration, when we came back, things felt a bit different. I don't think that that's accidental. Yeah, I don't think that that's accidental. I don't think that's coincidental either. So I would not be surprised if certain things are shifting. And if you notice, like, the TikTok ban is set to take effect again on April 5th, but you haven't seen any discussion about it, right? So, and for the most part, like, I forgot the name of the guy who owns, like, the CEO of TikTok. Remember when he used to post videos all the time with like updates of what they're doing to fight the ban and all of that? You ain't seen him since January, right? We haven't seen him since January. We don't hear anything from TikTok related to the work that they're supposedly doing to try to keep the app active in the US. And so that tells me that there's probably already been some level of infiltration, probably by the current administration, and that they're moving things around. Right, exactly. Right, which is crazy because he was still treated like he was second class, right? Even at the inauguration. So, um, but I feel like the lack of discussion about the TikTok ban just goes to show that this platform has changed and probably will continue to change. Yeah, no, we're going to decline that. Oh, thank you, Shavina. I appreciate you. Yeah, you guys, there's some regulars that are always on the videos, right? You guys always comment, always are watching out. If I'm behind one day on posting, you'll make sure, hey, where's the video? So, and I appreciate you guys for that. I just want you guys to know that I do not ever, ever, ever take any of my followers for granted. Even if you don't follow me and you see my content on your For You page, and you comment or you share or you like or you save or whatever, like, none of that is anything that I take for granted. As content creators, we are held up, supported, platformed by our audience. As I stated before, I've been doing content since 2022. This is the most growth that I've seen, and it's been 3 years, literally. And there's been times when I was like, I'm gonna give this up. But one thing that I learned is that if you're gonna create content, you have to do it because you love it, not because of what you think that you can get from it. There are a lot of opportunities that come from being a content creator because you have a platform that some people don't. But for me, it's all about creating community. Even like going from a little over 2,000 followers to like 93,000 followers, that still blows my mind how we even got here. Because I can tell you 93 people that I know in real life, much less 93,000. But I do appreciate all of the people. Obviously, not all 93,000 interact with my videos, and probably not all 93,000 even see my videos anymore since the first one. But those of you that I've really created a sense of community with on my page that are consistently hyping me up and supporting me and sharing the content. Like, as someone who's been doing this for a while, I don't take that for granted. I really, really don't. And I hope that I can continue to give you guys quality content. I work really, really hard on these videos, especially since these are really broad, like complex concepts that the average person is going to be like, I'm not reading all that, or, I'm not, I don't understand what any of this means. But I think it's really important to create content that is relatable, things that you can see in your real life so that you can understand what's going on. I see that they are actively trying to obviously suppress content, but also like completely wipe away history. Hey, Crystal. Completely wipe away our history and our ability to access this information, our ability to access books, our kids' ability to read books. Um, I'm pretty sure that you guys have seen in the news in the last few days that our Ivy Leagues are losing federal funds. I think, what was it? Columbia just lost like $400 million in federal funding because they were still running DEI-esque programs. Harvard has, I think, as of today, put a hiring freeze on staff and faculty at Harvard because of potential negative actions that the administration could take towards them, until they're able to kind of figure out where they go from here. It's very clear that there's an attack on education and on free knowledge. And so if I can use my platform to give you guys the things that they're trying to destroy and try to take away, that's the least I could do to help my community. So I appreciate you guys. Okay, again, if you guys have any questions on any of the topics that we've discussed so far and the topics that are up for now, we have about 4 weeks left together. Go ahead and let me know. You can drop them in the comments. And actually, what I think would be a little fun, I don't know if I could do it on YouTube. I do know I could do it on TikTok. If any of you guys want to come on the live with me and you can ask me questions kind of one-on-one so you don't have to drop it in the comments, we can go ahead and do that as well. I really like interactive components. So if you guys want to do that, feel free to do that. I think there's a way that you can request to join the live. There has to be, because this is like the third time I've done office hours and I've gotten random people to ask me to go live with them. And when I say random, it's like not people who interact with my content. I feel like it's just other creators that are on TikTok and just want to go live. But yeah, if any of you guys wants to hop on the live with me to ask questions or to discuss anything, yeah, feel free to send a request. If not, because I don't see any comments on the YouTube and I don't see any comments or questions on the TikTok, then we might actually end office hours early this week. Because I know we have it till 10. It's about We have 5 minutes till the halfway mark of the hour. So let me check and make sure. Yeah, I don't see any questions. Yeah, Trevino, it's 9:26. Yeah, we're both on the East Coast. So we're both on the same time. And now because of the time change, oh my gosh, it's just messed me up completely. I've been having to audit because of my schedule, but will you do another round? Woo, no. No. So I think it might be, oh no, I think everyone has a pretty good idea of like how him and Talk worked. So despite what other people may have tried to pursue, of course, Hillman Talk is not a real university. It's not a real college. You're not getting college credit. So this is not something that's going to be teach like semester round. I honestly give so much credit and esteem to professors that do this full time because this is a lot of work, even down to the creation of the syllabus for you guys to bring together the information in a way that is relevant but also makes sense as far as flow and understanding was challenging, right? And then obviously I'm not going to have y'all reading 50 to 100 pages of Supreme Court cases every week. So then I had to find the articles, the relevant articles and summaries of those cases, find videos that you guys can access, because some people, don't, some people are visual learners. So having that visual component, I think, was very important as well. That took a lot of time. And then creating this content has taken a lot of time. I'm committed to completing this course. And of course, it will always be available for as long as TikTok is still here on the playlist on my page. And then obviously, I would love if you guys could join me on YouTube as well. The YouTube page, Black and Briefed, and it will always be there as well because nobody's messing with YouTube. She's an OG. But this is not going to be a class that's going to be taught again. But the classes, the lectures will always be here for your viewing pleasure. Will you still do live discussions going forward? Absolutely. Absolutely, I will. Lives are something that I intend to do frequently. You guys, again, are going to see me kind of shift my content over the next month or so. So I will share this with you. For those of you that do not know, only 5% of all of the attorneys in the United States are Black. Okay, so of all of the attorneys and lawyers that you guys know, of all the attorneys in the United States, there are only about 4.5 to 5% that are Black. Okay, and that is a statistic that has not changed for over a generation. Of that 5%, only 2% are women. So the likelihood that you will be the only in a room when you graduate from law school, and even in law school, depending on where you go, is very, very high if you are Black in this profession. I've always been very passionate about mentorship. I was mentored through law school. To be honest, I probably could not have gone through the process. Number one, I went to one of only 6 historically Black law schools in the United States, FAMU College of Law in Orlando. FAMU is very diverse, but it is predominantly Black. And had it not been for the Black men and women who worked as faculty and staff at that school, had it not been for the Black men and women who were upperclassmen, who helped me to navigate the process, there were people who, like, I didn't even have somewhere to stay when I moved to Orlando before I started school. And they were like, you could sleep on my couch, right? For the first few weeks of school, gave me books, gave me resources, because I'm a first generation American. I'm a first generation college student. So I had to self-fund through loans my own education. And if it wasn't for those people that sewed so deeply into me, even if they didn't know me, I would not be who I am today. And so what you're going to probably start seeing me post more of is content related to that, increasing the 5%. I know that is crazy. Absolutely. It's content to increase the 5% of us in this profession. I personally, this year will make 9 years since I got my law license. So I graduated law school and I took the bar exam and got licensed to practice. It will make 9 years. I'm burnt out. Right? But I'm very passionate about those of us who want to join this profession. I think now more than ever, we need community. We need to lift the next generation of lawyers and doctors and engineers that look like us into those positions. Okay. With the attacks on DEI, the attacks on higher education, the attacks on K through 12 education. You see, Donald Trump just wrote an executive order over the weekend that admonishes and removes government funding and contracts from a major law firm, all because they represented Hillary Clinton back in 2016. Right. So now he's gunning for that. You have Elon Musk and JD Vance who are saying that any judge who doesn't side with the Trump administration should be impeached. You're starting to see that these branches of government are not safe if we don't take action. And so I'm very, very passionate about mentoring and helping the next generation below me or coming up after me, excuse me, because they're not below me, right? But the generation of attorneys coming after me to navigate some of the pitfalls so that they don't make the same mistakes I did, but also to help them. I don't know if you guys know anybody who's gone through law school, but that is a rigorous process. Let me say, too, that the way that you become a lawyer is also steeped in racism. There was no such thing as an LSAT until Black kids started going to law school. There was no such thing as the bar exam, a standardized test that you have to pass in order to get a law license to practice. There was no such thing as that until Black people wanted to become lawyers. So even the profession itself is steeped in racism, historical racism. And so there are a lot of pitfalls, and it's not an easy process at all. I would never, no one could pay me to go back and do that experience again. So I think that it's important for us to create a community and for those of us that are in the profession to help those of us that want to be a part of it, to overcome those pitfalls, to encourage them, to give them opportunities to network and land those good jobs and really plant themselves in the legal profession. So with all of that said, that is some of the content that if you guys still continue to follow me, you will start to see as well, me kind of shift into there. But I really enjoy being able to take like current events and look at it from a legal perspective and then break it down and have these discussions with you guys to continue to spread education and knowledge. So absolutely, the lives will continue, and I will also continue to create content around some of the things that we see happening in present day, just to combat the disinformation, the misinformation, and the chaos and anxiety that this administration is trying to put on all of us. What is not being broadcast are the over 90 federal lawsuits against all of the executive actions that the Trump administration has taken since January 20th. There are over 90 lawsuits currently pending. Many of them have been won on the federal level. We saw, and this is the reason why I understand the sentiment around the Supreme Court. But if you look at the decision that came out last week regarding deregulation of water in San Francisco, the Supreme Court just sided with San Francisco to weaken regulations around what they can dump in drinking water. Okay. But you know who did not side with San Francisco? Surprisingly, Amy Coney Barrett. She didn't. Even though she is a Trump appointed, I believe she was the last Trump appointed Supreme Court justice. She actually sided with the liberal judges regarding San Francisco's dangerous practices of dumping hazardous waste and trash into drinking water. And she's paying the price for it because I can tell you, MAGA TikTok and MAGA Twitter and MAGA, whatever platforms MAGA be using, they are going in on her. They're calling her a DEI hire, all types of crazy stuff. Okay. What I've also seen, though, are Democrats or liberals praising her for making this decision. I personally don't feel like people should be praised for stuff that they should be doing, right? So if you're a parent, no one should be clapping that you kept your kid alive today. No one should be clapping that you fed them and that you clothed them and that you took them to school. That's your job. So that's personally how I feel. Like I can give you credit that for once you showed some courage to do what it is that you're supposed to do as a Supreme Court justice, especially since Supreme Court justices have lifetime appointments. But I'm not going to give you credit. I'm not going to praise you for doing the right thing because that's what y'all should be doing up there is the right thing. Okay. But I say that to say that it's a toss up, and even though some of these justices don't have the same politic as us, if they respect the rule of law and they respect the seat that they sit in, you will see them do the right thing. Even if it's not frequently, there will be times that they will surprise you. So that's why we have to keep holding out hope in the checks and balances system and our system of government, while also understanding that it's our job to protect it. It is. We can't sit by idly and hope and wait for things to change because, to be quite honest, there's too much corporate money in our system of government to really drastically change anything. So that means that we, the people, have to demand what we want to see from our government. Okay. But she already showed you who she was with Roe v. Wade. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And if we're being real, most of her demographic voted to suppress their own rights. I'm going to say something that is controversial, but I do believe that white women that vote that way see themselves as white before they see themselves as women. A lot of this is proximity to whiteness, right? So that's why you see like the model Asian type of thing, where even as racial of the undertones there are when people joke about how like, oh, I want my Asian to be my doctor. Asians are engineers. They're really good at math. Da, 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 da. Like those have racially discriminatory undertones to it, right? So we shouldn't be praising that, but we see a lot of that model Asian trope going on where Asian people oftentimes don't see themselves as minorities because of their proximity to whiteness. And a lot of times it's just like, hey, at least I'm not Black. Okay. So when we see those demographics of people voting against their own interests, 9 times out of 10, it is because they see themselves as closer to white than they do minority. So they vote for the parties and politicians and policies that do not benefit them. So to your point, Trevina, when you talk about we've seen what she's capable of with the rollback of Roe v. Wade, I agree. I agree. And that's the reason why I said I'm not giving her any credit for doing the right thing. That's what you're supposed to do. You're a Supreme Court justice. That is the most prestigious thing that you could be as a legal professional, is a Supreme Court justice. Like, I wish y'all could understand how mind-blowing it has been to be someone who paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to law school and see every single legal principle that you learned in those 3 to 4 years completely just wiped away. Like it's blowing my mind. I almost like, I want my money back. because what is happening here? It doesn't make any sense. Um, yeah, I think it's hard for any judge to make a fair decision if the laws ain't fair. Well, see, Wade, this is where judges have power, because the judicial branch is the branch of government that tells us how to apply the laws. So the judicial branch can say, "Hey, Congress, you didn't write this law well. You need to go back to the drawing board." That's what they're supposed to do, right? And then simultaneously, if the law is written well, but it's not being enforced properly, then they go back and tell the executive branch, "Hey, y'all not doing y'all job. This is what you need to be doing." That's the judicial branch. That's all their job is to interpret the law and tell us how to apply it. So to your point, when we say, it's hard for any judge to make a fair decision if the laws aren't fair, that's their job, is to make the laws fair by holding the other two branches of government accountable. But the problem is when what's supposed to be a neutral branch of government is no longer neutral. When politics play a role in it, when your vote or your opinion in the Supreme Court's case can be bought, that's the problem. And so that's why, like, the way we appoint, or the way Supreme Court justices are selected and appointed, I personally think we kind of need to go back to the drawing board, because part of the reason, again, why we took a more historical perspective at the beginning of this class is because I also wanted to show you guys these problems are not new. They're not. Well, even when we talk about voter suppression, remember when we talked 2 weeks ago about the very first election in 1789, when George Washington was voted as our first president, only 1.3% of the population had the ability to participate. And it was because they were white landowning men. The Native Americans who were on this land prior to the Pilgrims getting here could not vote. Obviously, the slaves could not vote, right? Women could not vote. Poor white people could not vote. So when we fast forward centuries later to see what we're seeing now, it's the same problem. It's just called something different. Going back to my point of, like, politicians are great when it comes to words. To be honest, that's why 70% of them go to law school first before they run for office, because they know how to twist words and to create narratives. So now what is really a racial issue now becomes socioeconomics, because it sounds better. And we can hide things behind socioeconomics. We can make excuses for why we're not actually benefiting anyone with the policies that we're passing by calling it socioeconomics instead of calling it systemic racism, right? So when we talk about the appointment of Supreme Court justices, it's hard to be neutral when they are appointed by presidents who are political. So why would Obama appoint Clarence Thomas? They don't have the same politic. And it's playing chess, right? Because remember, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still a Supreme Court justice under Obama, he asked her to retire strategically because she was very old and she was sickly. And so what he did not want is to give Donald Trump an opportunity to appoint someone once she died that would then move the court in the direction that we see it currently. Very conservative, it's my left, very right-leaning, right? And she refused. I think a similar fate might happen with Sonia Sotomayor, because President Biden asked her to do the same thing. She refused. She is also elderly and sickly. So unfortunately, we might be right back in an RBG situation. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping not, because at that point, it's only 3 liberal judges on the court. So at that point, we can kind of like hang it up. But you see the problem? If a Republican is in office, he or she is going to appoint more conservative, right-leaning judges. If a Democrat is in office, he or she is going to appoint more left-leaning, liberal, moderate, democratic justices. So you're already mixing in political ideologies from the very beginning of them sitting in that seat. And I think that that's what makes it unfair, because that literally, that branch is supposed to be the only apolitical branch of government for that reason, so that they can be fair and say, legislative branch, you wrote that law poorly, get it together. Executive branch, you're not doing your job, or you don't have the authority to do that based on the law that was passed, and this is what needs to happen next. That's why they're supposed to be apolitical. But we see it ain't working out. She was so selfish for that. You know, I would love to ask her, like, what was the thought process behind that? My thing is, I think that she must have some personal beef with Donald Trump, so she wanted to make sure that she could be there. And unfortunately, she didn't make it all the way through the first Trump term. So yeah, I think that in that standpoint, she put her ego over what was best for the country and for our democracy. I definitely agree with that. I often find myself pondering how she must feel as a mother to her African American daughter, especially in today's climate. It's rough. I can only imagine. I mean, I know as a mother myself, sometimes I look at my child and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I would have never imagined that this would be the world I would be leaving behind for my kids. Um, when I had my son, Obama was still president. Obama was my very first president. I became legally able to vote when Obama was first running in 2008. And that's the most excited I've ever been politically. Excited and just hopeful, seeing this country finally come to a place where we were going to have a Black person in the highest office representing us to the entire world, what that would mean for our country. And it's just so disheartening to see that even you can be the most educated, the most poised, the most diplomatic, the most able and qualified person, and still your skin color is going to play a role in whether or not people are going to want to work with you, whether people are going to want you to be successful. Because no matter what, that's still the president of the United States. That is why it kind of blew me last week with the joint address to see what they did to Rep. Al Green, because I distinctly remember in Obama's second term, when the Republicans gained back control of Congress, I distinctly remember people booing him, Republicans booing him openly. Not because he was lying, but because they disagreed with him, because they were trying to break him. And now you have someone that is standing up and lying to Congress, lying to the American people. And you have someone, he didn't boo. He got up and he said the truth. He spoke truth to power, and they drug him out of there like he didn't belong there. That is infuriating, absolutely. That is disheartening. So when we talk about, like, how would she feel, how she must feel as a mother to an African American daughter, my hope is that that is the feeling, that, like, I have to leave behind a better world for my child than what we're sitting in right now. That is my motivation. If I'm being 100% with y'all, that's my motivation for what I'm doing with this platform, what I'm doing with these videos, this education, is I'm trying my best to correct whatever, because that is one thing I will say the baby boomers got wrong. I was raised by one and I'm still educating him every single day. The baby boomers got to the top of the ladder and then pulled it right up. and blamed the generations that they parented for why they couldn't get further, even though they created systems to prevent those generations from succeeding. That's not what I want to do for my kids. I'm just hoping that things will improve by the time my son is 18. But that's for us to fight for. It's worth exploring the potential implications of the 600 federal judges. What kind of impact might this decision have moving forward? What is good is the fact that you're seeing those judges make the decisions that are stopping a lot of these executive actions and holding Trump accountable. For instance, the USAID issue, that was shot down very quickly by the federal judges, a federal judge that was appointed by Biden prior to him leaving. And then Trump asked for an emergency consideration of the issue from the Supreme Court. And luckily, the Supreme Court also said, yeah, you can't do that. Those were funds that were already allocated for this agency. The funds don't come from federal tax. Well, the funds are already allocated, basically. Okay, so the office of the president does not have the power to stop funds that Congress has already said is going towards this particular cause. So I think that is the beauty of some of the things that Biden did prior to him leaving office, but it's not reported on because, again, you have mainstream media spinning a narrative. A lot of these networks are a part of the problem, to be quite honest. And that's why I don't watch them anymore. MSNBC fired Joy Reid. She was about the only person I was watching on MSNBC outside of, Rachel Maddow. And sorry, Rachel, still love you, but I'm not watching MSNBC anymore. I'm not doing it. So I have not turned on CNN since November 5th. And I won't. Okay. I track the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. There are a lot of independent media content creators. There's an organization called Chorus, which is an organization that was founded by some millennial and Gen Z content creators right here on TikTok, and they are doing the good work. For instance, a couple of months ago, Chorus hosted an event, a live event that people could register for, where they could log in and ask questions of the potential candidates for the head of the DNC. Something that most people don't even know, like the public is not a part of those decisions, right? But the DNC impacts how the Democratic Party moves forward. People didn't even know how those elections go. Most times you don't even know who is running, right? Unless you work in DC in the Capitol or whatever. So they're giving everyday people like us access to those things because they understand, like, we need to be engaged. And you're seeing it from the younger generations, the working class Americans, millennials and Gen Z are pushing the needle forward. So I do encourage you guys to do that. I love Don Lemon. He's been going crazy ever since he got off CNN, and I am here for it. I am here for the Black male crash out that is Don Lemon, because he is doing the Lord's work. So I watch him faithfully on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Instagram, because he goes live on Instagram as well. But Joy Reid, God, I can't remember her name, but Under the Desk News is another independent news source that I follow here on TikTok as well. I love how she breaks things. When I started this class, I tried to kind of model the way that I give y'all the information, the way that she gives us the information. She breaks it down in a way that is extremely understandable. And she was very big on working during that TikTok ban era to get us information that was clear, that was concise, that wasn't full of like the political jargon and all of that. So I encourage you guys to follow her as well. She's doing great work. But all of that to say that there is fighting happening. Now, I did see someone's comment, hold on, let me scroll back up, about the Democratic Party. Where are the rest of the Dems? They should have stood with him. That I 100% agree on. And my take is, if you are too afraid of losing your job than doing the right thing, you should not have that job. You should not have that job. Why would y'all go into that joint address and have the Speaker of the House tell y'all to be quiet and y'all stayed quiet? What were the pink shirts going to do? Other than, excuse my language, piss us off. Like, sometimes I wonder if the Democrats want Trump to win. Even the, what is her name, Sissoko or something? No, Slotkin, excuse me. The person that the party picked to do the opposing messaging after the joint address, why did y'all pick her? Because she's moderate. Because she got corporate money behind her too. We didn't want that. We want AOC, who's been in the trenches since 2019 when she got up in there. We want Jasmine Crockett, who is always coming to us with the information. I would have took a Maxwell Frost. We want the people who are going to push progressive policy forward to be the ones to do the opposing message, because they're the ones that are tapped in. Y'all are not, and y'all are still upholding the very ideals and the very privilege that has gotten us in this position. So to be honest, I don't know where the Democratic Party is going to go. Don't even know that they will exist much longer. Me too. Very tired of the institutional Democrats. Very tired of the whole, oh, we're diplomatic. Them 10 Democrats that voted to censure Al Green. Al Green? Al Green been around since the civil rights movement. You censured Al Green? Are y'all crazy? Or y'all just don't want Black people to vote for you anymore? Like, what? Like, are we deliberately trying to lose? Don't understand it. But them 10 Democrats, they need to get up out of there too. They need to get up out of there too. Because if you ask me, the institution of the Democratic Party is the biggest enemy that we have right now. It's not the Republicans. The Republicans, you know, when they say basically, when you have an enemy that you know is your enemy, you can deal with that. But the wolf in sheep's clothing is really who you need to look out for. And that's what I feel the Democratic Party is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't know what's happening, y'all. I hope, oh, there we go. It's because it's telling me the live going in soon. So I have to give it some more time. But yeah, I absolutely feel like the institution of the Democratic Party is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And those are the ones that scare me, because they come to you and kiki in your face and smile. Oh yeah, and act like they're your friend. And behind your back, they're doing everything in their power to take away your power. So, you know, I don't know. But again, we have a lot more power. Hey, Malaysia. We have a lot more power. Yes, Under the Desk News. She's also on YouTube as well, Trevino. So you can find her YouTube channel. She does more in-depth dives into what's going on. But she also does like her little snippets on TikTok as well. Love her content. I just lost where I was going a while ago, but yeah, I don't really know where the party is going to go moving forward. But that's what I was saying. We have more power than they want to give us credit for, because if we knew that we had the power to make some things shake up in Washington, D.C. and make some people lose their jobs, they wouldn't be able to sit there comfy making $100,000 to $300,000 to $400,000 a year in salary off of taxpayer dollars, taxpayers that they're not doing anything for. So on that note, is 9:59. Because we have the power that we have, I'm going to continue to push this content out. I'm going to continue to encourage you guys to remain as engaged as possible. I do think that it would be irresponsible for me to make it seem as though y'all always need to be tapped into everything. No. And let me say this, I know we're a part of mixed company and I do appreciate the followers of mine that are not Black, but I'm going to tell y'all, Black people, take your rest, take your beat. Okay. This class is about teaching how much power we have in our community. This country and its laws would be nothing if not for the Black people that have fought for it. This week, we're going to learn about immigration. The very people who sat here, okay, and voted against their self-interest, but also our interests. Okay. And when I say that, I'm talking about our Latino communities. Those very people enjoy the privilege of citizenship today in this country because of the efforts that Black people put forth in getting the 14th Amendment passed. So what we're not going to do is allow history to be erased, and we're not going to rewrite it. We're going to tell the truth. And those who want to finally address their privilege and join with us. And when I say join with us, I'm not talking about, yeah, girl, you go out there and protest. No, you go ahead and get your gas mask out and get your milk for the pepper spray, and you go out there and put your body on the line. That's another reason why, too. I know you guys have been seeing the calls for Derek Chauvin to be exonerated, right? To be pardoned. Don't let them bait you in, y'all. Don't do it. Don't put your Black body on the line anymore. Go back in your room. Good night. Close my door. Close my door. Sorry, y'all. My son just came in. He's supposed to be sleeping. But yeah, don't put your Black body on the line. One of my good friends, Latoya, she's a professor of African American literature. For y'all that follow my content, I have a podcast as well. And in our podcast episode, we talked about allyship. And she said something that's so real and it stuck to me. She said, we don't need any more allies. We need accomplices. An accomplice is someone who gets in the car with you when you're going to go rob the bank, right? And they drive the getaway car. They put themselves on the line. That's what we need. For those of you that are in here and y'all are mixed company, you know, those that are not of African American descent, those that are not Black, you know, those who are white, right? Who are, you know, either sitting quietly or asking questions and all of that. I want to send you that message. And I want y'all to take this message back to your respective communities. We don't need any more allies. We need accomplices. We need y'all to get out of y'all houses and put something at risk too. Black people cannot constantly be putting their bodies and their careers and their income on the line for the benefit of everyone else and be at the bottom of the totem pole. Again, when we talk about DEI disproportionately benefited white women, not anyone Black, okay? Veterans' preference came from DEI. Protections for those who are elderly so that y'all can continue to work, that came from DEI. Protections for those who have disabilities, that came from DEI. But do you know where DEI directly came from? Brown v. Board of Education. When Black people couldn't even sit their butts down on a toilet seat that wasn't labeled Negroes. Go back to sleep. Good night. Close my door. That's where DEI came from. So you can sit here and watch all of my videos. You can binge them if you want to. You can read all the books. You can listen to all the podcasts. But you're not a real ally if you don't get out there and start putting something at risk for the benefit of those that don't have the same privilege as you. Okay? We don't need any more allies. We need accomplices. Anyways, we're 4 minutes over. So this week, yes, I know he's going to try. He's halfway asleep. So I'm about to go in and just tuck him back. My office is like directly across from his room. So he may have just heard me. But yeah, y'all. So it's 5 minutes past. I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me. This week we're talking about immigration. So I'm excited to see some of the discussion that we have as well as I release the videos. Of course, you know videos will be released on Tuesday and Thursday of this week. I always try to release them before 6. I'll probably release them anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30. That seems to be when I get the most traction as far as engagement goes. So I'm going to try to see if maybe posting them a little later in the evening when people are more likely to be home and not on work will help. But yeah, I look forward to seeing the conversations that we have this week. And I will obviously see you guys again next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, yes, because we changed. But before I see you guys again, I hope that you guys continue to interact with the videos, and I hope you guys stay safe and stay encouraged. Okay. Good night. All right, Trevino, I will see you tomorrow. Good night.